Hello everyone, welcome to Software Testing Expert Talk series. Today we have a guest who has 9+ years of experience in software development and testing in the IT industry so far. Plus, she is handling the role of Senior QA Engineer at one of the most prestigious organizations across the world. She is passionate about testing and has experienced different flavors of testing like ETL, EDI, automation, mobile, IVR, mainframe, and API testing. Her primary skill sets are API testing, front-end automation using Selenium, ETL testing, Salesforce, and EDI testing. She also has good expertise in various tools and technology like Postman, Tosca, Catalan, Informatica, Oracle, and SQL. Not only this much in her introduction, she likes to share the knowledge she has acquired during her QA journey so far on her blog named as Testing Journey of Pricilla.blogspot.com. I won't take more time in her introduction. Please join your hands and help me in welcoming Pricilla Bilavendran. Welcome to our show, Pricilla.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ajay. Thank you so much. This was so nice. So I am so pleased and thank you so much for this opportunity. And I don't want to take much time also. So let's just get started. So you can see the screen now, right?
I can see.
Yeah, that's good. Perfect. So today's topic will be we'll be talking about test data for APIs. So we know test data is one of the the important topic, but not prevalently people talk more about it because it's always a kind of underestimated topic, I would say. And only because when something blows up in production, people will realize the importance of test data and they'll come back and they'll dig what happened, and after the RCA they will find out like the test data is been this combination of test data has been missed, and that's why this blowed up in production. So to avoid that, what we can do is like we can have a better understanding of test data. It's not just for APIs, of course. You would have done for your front end systems, or whether it is for your DB, you would have always given you would have always pushed a secondary or a priority, less priority for the test data combinations or the test data scenarios, right? So just to elaborate, where does it come into picture and what are the approaches which we have, I just picked on this topic. And in this topic, the highlight of the topic will be like we'll be discussing a tool which is called MockCrew, and I'll be showing a basic demo of this tool, which will be really helping you to create a bulk test data, and not just a bulk test data. It is going to be a realistic test data as well. So this is how it's going to be for today's session. So I will just proceed. So this is me. I am Priscilla. I work as a senior QA engineer, and it's for Millennium ID Services, and this is my second company. I moved into Malaysia a few years back with my family. So before this, I was working in Cognizant Technology Solutions India, and these are my social handles, like wherein you can see me. Of course, you might have already spotted me in LinkedIn and all. So these are the social handles. I'll share it all if you guys need it. And other than this, okay, so this is one thing which I am so proud of, which I wanted to share about you, share about to all you guys. I'm a Postman Supernova. So what is this program is all about? So people know this title. They might have already seen in LinkedIn, and Postman might have shared some details about it. So I'll just say what is this program. This is just a ambassadorship program. Say something like MuleSoft have like MuleSoft Ambassador program, and Dockers have, I think Dockers have their Dockers captainship program. So there's something similar to that. Some contributors, some community contributors, or some Postman users who are going beyond and trying to help the users through their blogs, videos, or through the meetups or webinars, right? And there are certain points, of course, and based on that qualification, you will be awarded this title, wherein you will be called as a Postman Supernova. And this is a program, of course, it's an ongoing program. Like whomever is really interested and who you want to, if you want to explore something in Postman, or if you're already doing really good stuffs in Postman, right? You can definitely give it a try and you can reach out to me if you want. So what are the advantages? Of course, you will have a better visibility, and you will get a frequent social media shoutouts. You can easily communicate with the developer advocates of Postman. You will get to know them very frequently. You can talk with them, and you will have an invitation. Sometimes you have an option to attend the internal Postman events as well. You will have your materials and swags. So this is all about this ambassadorship program. So if you have any questions on this, or if you are really interested to reach out for this, right, this program, I'm definitely here to help you guys.
Okay.
And okay, so uh, thank you, Ajay, for that. Okay. Okay, and as a Postman Supernova, okay, so what is it all about? So of course I'm a Postman Supernova, I represent Postman, that's fine. So what and all like I did this year is like initially to build up my confidence and to build up my public speaking skills, I had to work on it, right? So I started with some internal webinars, like wherein for internal in my office, like wherein to a different set of subset of people, I had to talk about APIs, API testing, and Postman. So that was helping me to build up my confidence actually. And then my first external meetup was with Test Drive community. So that was all about. It was like back-to-back sessions we had in April, like basics of API testing, and we covered about the features and basics of Postman as well. So that was a really good hit event, and that was a very special event to me, of course. And other than that, then I had a chance to talk in one of the MOT meetup, Ministry of Testing meetup, wherein it was also about some basics of Postman stuffs. And then Sage is an organization where they have this testing tales concept. Like they used to connect the employees during the lunch times, like frequently, and they used to call the external speakers from various technologies so that the people will have the diverse knowledge. So in that case, in that category, I was invited to Sage, and I had an opportunity to share my knowledge about APIs and Postman, and that was a really wonderful session. And the feedback which I received was really tremendous, and that made actually feed me special too. And latest update is like I had an opportunity to speak in API Days Hong Kong conference, and that was my, of course, first international conference, and it was a very good experience, I would say. So these are all the talks or the external meetups and conferences which was as part of this year, which I did. And of course, now I'm with you guys with QA Fox and for this STET session. Okay, and okay, so here comes the main part. So what is the agenda? Of course, we know test data. How do we pick the test data? What are the types of test data? These are the basic stuffs which we need to brush up, right? So in that category, we first need to know why do we need to have a proper test data management? You need to have that, right? Why do we need to maintain the test data? And what are the approaches? Like how do you create your test data? And in what is the importance of your test data, like in API testing? Of course, we all know in the recent time the API testing is really getting a good attention and hype, right? So it's better as a QA, we need to scale up ourselves. So in that aspect, like you need to know why test data is important for APIs. And then what are the challenges? Of course, maybe from my personal experience, or based on my project experience, I will share like what are the challenges which we faced, and why did we selected Mockaroo. So that is where it comes into picture. What is Mockaroo and what are the features? And we will see some basic demo, like wherein which will help you to create some extraordinary test data for your test data for your, it can be for your APIs or some DB, because you have different formats in Mockaroo also. Okay. And what about this slide? Yeah, why this picture is like we as a testers, we invest a lot of time spending and exploring the systems, trying to break it and all the time, right? So what is it all about is like when you're not testing your system with the specific test data, like whatever is needed, an inadequate test data, we say. If it is if you are testing with that in that aspect, right? If the data is inadequate, there is no purpose of testing. Why? Because if there is a possibility where you are going to miss out many major scenarios, and of course then that might be a production issue. So we have to pay some attention, or at least from right now. If you're already doing, it's well and good, and if you're not doing it, at least after this session, I really want you to spend some time, understand the basics of test data and why it is important for all of us. right? So what are the approaches? Talking about the approaches, right? So while we create a test data, there are like variety of test data. First thing what we can do is like it can be a dummy data, which is very easy. You can just do A, B, 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 C, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's all the dummy data. That is very simple, of course, but the problem is like it will not have a better visibility when you're sharing your test data to somebody from the business user or something, right? The data will not have a better readability. So that goes as a first category of the approach for test data creation as dummy data. The second one is like mocked data. What is going to be my mocked data is like it is going to have a valid first name, valid last name, valid employee number, valid phone number, valid postcode, but all those details doesn't exactly will lead to a valid person. That's it. So this kind of mocking and trying to give a valid details or valid field names is called like which will come under a category for mocked data. And the third one is like anonymized data, wherein like you are say for example you have some set of confidential details, and you are not supposed to use that entirely, we will say. Okay. And what we can do is like, say for example, there is a bank account, a person's bank account record. You will have your first name, last name, and your SSN number, social security number, or Aadhaar card number, whatever which you have based on your location. And then you will have your account number, a credit card number, your balance, and all those stuffs, right? So in this field or in this record, what we will do is like masking some important details, talking about your social security number or about your account number or credit card number. So these fields will be masked and the remaining data will be shared. In a case, all the remaining data is nowhere is related to locate that person or locate that record. So it will automatically break the identity of the record, and we are just trying to share it. Otherwise, it is also called as de-identified test data. So this is called anonymized test data. And the fourth one, which we call it as like data subset. Not every industry or every domain is confidential, right? Some places the data is so free, because that is why we also have the option to approve, like whenever we get the checkbox, of course we obviously blindly do that, approve or accept the cookies, whatever. We will just accept the test data, or in that case your data is going to be used by Facebook or Google, whatever the application which you're providing the access to, right? In that case, so those sort of test data which you're already providing access to, or those sort of test data where the domain is not so confidential, the people, the business people, what they might do is like they might share you the test data, the entire set of test data, wherein you can just pick the data subset which is going to have a basic combinations, like say for example different genders and different races, different countries, and or different minimum balances, different credit cards, different bank accounts. So this kind of test data which is already from a subset data, but it has a multiple combinations. So of course, even though it is not fulfilling the entire ultimate goal of your test data process, but it serves better, right? So there are people still they are using this approach. So these are the major four approaches wherein we are using for the creation of your test data process as such.
Mhm. Okay.
And importance of test data, yeah, everywhere, like from the first slide Priscilla was talking all about test data, test data, test data, and why it is important, of course, and that too especially when it comes to API, why it is important. What generally people are doing right now in API testing is like they are trying to most of the places they are just trying to test with the hard coded values, which is going to be some default values for those APIs, and they are not like exploring something which is like out of the API capability. But because that's how we break, right? Because the reason is like the gap, because the front end we know how to break it, but when it comes to APIs already the technology will be new for the testers, and in that case they cannot really explore more about breaking that API, right? But of course the days are changing, people are getting really educated, all those things, right? So in that aspect we should think the test data has really a good percentage of breaking your APIs and finding some potential bugs in the initial phase itself. So that is why I'm asking you to give a bit of more importance to test data for when it comes to your APIs, especially. So not just front ends, right? Even test data for APIs are also having equal importance. But the problem here is like we are not still having that much exposure, because for front end we know when something we need, we have a lot of tools and we will directly go ahead and create something. Even if there are no other tools, also based on your requirement, you will go ahead and write some Selenium script and you will create the automated test data. But just think about APIs also. It is also very important, because this is a middle layer testing which is going to save you a lot of bugs, right? So there is no that is nothing wrong in spending some time for your test data for your APIs as well. And challenges, yeah. So when it comes to the challenges, what you can do is like some places people are not okay with using the dummy data. Your business will come and say, hey man, what is this? Everywhere I just see 1 2 3 4 5 and it's all one A B C D. I don't want to see this, because say for example your downstream is going to be some report or something. When you see in that report, even though if it is a test data or is if a testing environment, it'll be good if you have some kind of valid data, so that the report will be meaningful to the users, right? So in that case, people sometimes don't want to go for dummy data, they wanted to go for mocked data. And some people will have the data combinations, say like I want to have the null data, I want to have the negative numbers for this field, I want to have the floating numbers. So this kind of data combinations people will have for specific field, right? And when and some client or some project will have another specific set of requirements as well. So and the fourth challenge will be like some fields has to be populated based on some logic. Say for example, the email, I don't want a valid a dummy email. I have given a valid first name and a valid last name. I want the email with the same first name and last name which I have given. And for my project I have a specific domain, say for example at hotmail.com or hotmail.in is my specific domain, and that is the domain which I want to. Then you can definitely go ahead and tweak in MockCrew, and that is how you will get a meaningful test data there, right? So based on logic, if you need some test data or if you have to create some, definitely you will have a challenge, and MockCrew is going to solve all these challenges. So now we saw what are the challenges, right? So how do we maintain the test data? We know how to generate the test data, and it's not just a single day or a single time or single phase activity. You have to maintain your test data. It has to be a timely check wherein you have to go and check your test data whether it is still satisfying all your requirements or something can be improvised. Because being in a project for a few months or even a few days, you will definitely have a better understanding than the day one. Day two will have a better knowledge. Day three will have a better knowledge than day zero, right? So in that case, what you have to do is like try to just go back, see your test data approach, what approach you have just created or you just set up for your test data. Try to enhance that, because keeping this kind of review cycles for your test data process, right, it will really help you to have a standard process. And not only it will help you to avoid few other bugs also, like based on your experience and the knowledge which you are gaining on the later phases. So try to have the test data management process. And I believe there are many organizations right now, they especially have a team for this test data management. They used to have a different set of tools. And for say for example, in a project there is like 5 to 10 teams working on different applications and different downstreams. There is a dedicated team which is called as test data management team, and they will be supplying the test data based upon each project or each application requirement. They will be supplying the test data. So there are still many companies following this approach, and it will be better if we started to think about that too.
Okay.
And okay, so what is MockCrew? So we are Hill. So till now it's all clear, Ajay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what is MockCrew? And we all know this is one of the test data generator tool. Of course, in market there are a few other tools, but we will see later like what are the advantages and why we went back this MockCrew. So we had a challenge wherein our test data have to be so specific. Like we had a multiple nested JSON, and the arrays has to be like built in very specifically. So what we did is we thought of we really had a very big challenge, because we of course we use Postman for our testing. We were using the dynamic variables, but building this kind of specific nested arrays was a bit challenge for us. So in that is where my team lead suggested us about this tool MockCrew, and it was just in a moment, like there was no detail, how to say. Uh, it didn't take so long to just get acquainted to this tool. It was very easy for us. So it is a web application so far, like they offer in web, and it's a data generator tool, and you have different domain data. Like what I'm trying to say here is like you have like car company names, different IP addresses, different domains. You can see, say for example, if somebody is working on healthcare, you can see the ICD codes and all. So you have different domain data which is already covered, and the high volume fake data, like where you can, of course it is fake data, but it looks like a very realistic test data. So you can create high volume of test data, and based, of course, based on the pricing versions. And you have different formats for download also, like wherein you can download the data, or the tool as such will support different format. And what are the features of Mockaroo? So Mockaroo has a custom list first option. Why? Because it's like every project will have a specific requirement. Say, for example, I have a field, and that field I just want to have few set of values, say like A, B, C, D. Only these four values I want it, and I don't want any other random data or dynamic data for that. Of course, I can go ahead and create a custom list, and system will be able to pick only those values for the specific field. And I can use formulas, like wherein I can enhance my requirement. It will help me. And I can use my conditional statement. So say for example, if this is like this, and it has to pick value from that, so I can use some conditional if statements inside this. And currently till date, it is the system is supporting 145 plus different data types. I will show you all those things, and 10 output formats, like wherein once you generate your test data, you can download your file in 10 different output formats. And what are the advantages? First thing is like you are using different data type, different formula. So you don't want to, say for example, you are generating n number of rows. You don't need to download it blindly, right? Of course you want to see how the data was, like is it the expected way. So the preview option is one of the best option, wherein based on the preview, if it is not working, you can just go ahead and change the script, or change the formula, or change the data type how it wanted to be. And you can generate the data even without signing it. Like once you click on the homepage of the Mockaroo, right, directly you will have the empty schema, and you don't need to do anything. Just on the fly you can just edit something, and you can just download or generate the data and go. Only thing is like if you wanted to come back for the future use, the same schema needs to be used. It's better to have your sign in and your data. If you want it, you can just do your sign in. And for example, your project is having already a specific JSON which is having a multiple set of fields. You don't want to manually override those fields also. You can definitely import those titles. Only the titles will be copied, the values will not be copied. You have to modify the data types whenever, whatever way you want it to be. And they offer the REST API as well. So Mockaroo has a feature of REST API, wherein once you are setting up the schema, you can just call the REST API wherever you want to, inside your code or inside Postman, wherever. So it is very easy for the developers, and you can save the schema, of course, for the future use. And correlated data. So what is this correlated data? Okay, say for example, I have selected three fields: first name, last name, and gender. What it will do is like the gender will be automatically be calculated correctly. Just an example. So if it is like a guy name, the gender is automatically populated as male. So this kind of some correlations has already been inbuilt in the system. And the community support, of course, you have some good community support for Mockaroo as well. And So who are the users? So it is very useful for the developers for their unit testing process, or wherein like they have to do some dummy checks for their APIs, like they can use this, and the automation test engineers like they can use, and API test engineers wherever they want to do a random API call with some specific test data requirements, they can definitely try Mockaroo. And the data analyst, because we are talking about the bulk data, because once the free version is just till the 1,000, and once you go on for the enterprise versions and all, you can just get till million records, wherein like the data analyst can definitely go ahead and not just a dummy ABC data. They can really have a good visualization, right, when the data is really good. So it will be definitely useful for the data analyst as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we will go to the main part of the demo. Okay, so once you just hit on this homepage, like this is how you will see. So right now you have the option for toggling the dark and light mode. So for better visibility, I'm just using the light mode right now. So this is the basic example which the system is already trying to show you. What they are trying to show you is like, if your field name is as ID, you can select it as row number, and these are some of the data types which they call it as data types. So I'll just first we will start with this basic example, and then I'll pick you something unique. So this is how the data type will be all listed here. If you see, you can see the common animal name, scientific name, see this Bitcoin address. And if you want to have always a blank value also, you can just select this blank. You have a car model. So you have like almost 157 right now is being supported. And even the formula you have to select in here, and based on that only I'll be writing my formula. So see, so somebody who is really working on the healthcare for so long, this ICD codes will be definitely useful for them, and not just dummy codes, right? So all those are valid ICD codes, which will be really helpful for them. So these are like it's a very long list. So you will have very good set of test data here. And if you want to go based on the categories also, you have it here. So wherein like you have these advanced, basic, and you can just go based on this things also. You don't, if you're not exactly, if you don't know the keyword to search it, you can based on this domains, you can just navigate and see what are the available one. So if you see, this is a very special part, and this naughty string and all, like it's a very unique thing. So say for example, this, I'll just show you a preview. How does it look like? So if you see this naughty string will somehow it'll pick you all those unwanted things. So say for some negative testing, we can definitely use this. So this kind of very unique test data types are available in Mockaroo. Okay, so how does it work? So if you really want to have this data type, it's like the ID will automatically create, this row number is going to be a sequential row number. And first name, you have just few first name options. If you especially want to be European, you can select it, or if you want some female or male name specifically, you can just go ahead and select them as well. And the last name, there is only one category, so it's just going to be your last name. And the email address, so far this is a blank email address, and it'll just create you with any kind of dummy domain. And there is a gender option which is having a valid big set of genders list, and invalid IP address 4. So now if you have an option to like edit the number of rows. It's not like every time you need 1,000. So I just want to see the preview of 1,000 records. And here, this is what I mentioned about the output files. So you can, these are the different types of output files. So once you save your schema, you can generate all any kind of requirement. Based on your requirement, you can just convert and download any output format. So say for example, right now I'm just previewing it. Okay, and if you see here, what there is an we talked about like correlated data, like here this is also one example. Of course, gender is a correlated data, so based on the first name and last name, of course, unisex names is different. For when specifically we're talking about female and male names, it has a capability to automatically pick up the right gender. The email also has a capability. If you see, this email is not just a junk email, it is more or less related to the second name and the first name. Like it is like doing some other combination with the numbers and the dummy domain also, right? So this is what I was talking about, the correlated data. So system is able to generate all of this for us. So this is the basic level schema wherein like you are seeing different set of data types. So right now I wanted to show you a different data type. Okay, so what I'm going to explain here, of course, this field data type, you are already aware of the row number. It is going to create you a sequential row number, and I have an option here. Okay, so if you click on this, this will open you a formula bar wherein I'm just giving this plus 1000, and the basic syntax which they are all using here is like the ruby code is what used here. Of course, don't need to worry. I think you can find everything in Google, the snippets, and it's not going to be a thousand or 100 lines of code, right? You just based on your requirement, you're just going to write few lines of code, so that shouldn't be a problem. And most of the questions you find the answer in the forum as well. So what I have given is like I have given give plus 1000. So I wanted my list, my row number should ID should start with 1000. That's it. So 1000 plus 1. So it will go in that way. So this is what I was talking about, the specific requirement. So I don't want a blind row number. My specific row number has to start from 1000. And so this one. So I have a field here which is called as details dot project ID. So what I am trying to say here is like details is my JSON object, and under that I have a field which should be as project ID. So automatically this will Mockaroo will read it and understand this is a nested JSON here. It's going to be a nested one. So here and the digit sequence, if I select the digit sequence, here if I have any project requirement, say for example your project name you can give, and this hash is nothing but it's going to generate this many digits for you. If you click on this question mark, it will guide you like what are the specific requirements you want to create it. Because I wanted to have a random digit is going to be hash. If I want a lowercase letter, or if I want to have, because in some cases we need to have this mixed characters, right? Say for example there is a field, your password field, you should have a mixed variety of fields, and that is how your password will meet the requirements, right? So those set of cases you can try to arrange the same way, and based on that, if you want a lowercase or if you want a random digit, based on this digit, the symbols, the system will automatically populate the field for you. So here, if you see, I have given this client ID. My requirement is like I need two digits, random digits, and I want an alphabet, a lowercase alphabet, and then this cap symbol is going to generate me a capital letter, and then again two lowercase letters, and then a digit, and then a lowercase letter. So this kind of specific requirement you can easily define it here. And the next field is going to be an array. So you have an so here I'll just show you a preview. How does it look like first? So this is what I'm talking about. So details is going to have two fields wherein like my requirement is very peculiar. I have just generated already based on that. And right now I want my user details to be an array, because I have n number of details, user details, right? So I wanted that to be an array. So what you have to do is like for JSON object, you don't want to specifically mark it as a JSON object. You can directly like give this dot symbol and give your attribute key name. Automatically, the system will understand that as a nested JSON. But when it comes to an array, first you have to select that JSON array, because we have the number of elements, right? So how many numbers to be populated inside that array? So I have just given 5 to 8, and the first name. So the same way I have to mention. So user details dot first name, user details dot last name, and other than that, I have name, email. So every user should have all these details like first name, last name, and email. This is what I have just provided. So, and here, if you see, I have given a template wherein like I just want to append the first name and last name. So this formula, what with this template will do is like, it will just append my first name and last name field, which I have mentioned here. And here for email, I have a specific formula. I have used it here. I have just used this concatenation wherein I wanted to convert to the lowercase. And instead of just first name, if you see, I have just used two underscores here. What is the meaning of that is like, I wanted to use that field here, but I don't want that value to be directly populated here. I'm just using it inside the formula. That's why. So it has to be with this two underscore. And I also have given my specific domain name. It should be as hotmail.io. That's it. And for a type field, I have a custom list because my project has a specific requirement. I don't want any dummy or random data. It should be only P1, P2, or P3, or P4. Only these four values are allowed for that field. And this digital ID, it has to start with number 1. Okay. And then after that, any series is fine for me. So now we are getting it right. So this kind of specific requirements, you can easily mock it. So so say for example, my project code should always start, my digital ID should always start with 9, and it should have like this number of random digits. You can just edit it in this way. That's it. And date and time, you have multiple options for format for this date and time. You can just select any kind of date format, whatever you want, and you can give the range for the date also, like which range you wanted to see. And so I've just selected one row. So if you see, we will preview the data. So you can directly see like the ID, because we gave it as 1000 after 1000, right? So it should be as 1001. And this is under details. And user details is an array. If you remember, we have selected an option wherein like the array should have minimum 5 elements and maximum of 8 elements. Yeah. So it will automatically swap. Sometimes you will get 5, sometimes you will get the array number as 6 or 7. It can definitely vary. So
So basically, we are designing our schema with whatever data we want.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if you see, it is so specific, right, Ajay? Not just a dynamic first name or last name. It is very specific. If you see my email also based on my first name and last name and the specific domain. I wanted to all to be in lowercase because a valid email ID will work with this, right? And when it comes to the email, just make sure that you're not using any like Microsoft.com or something like. Try to have some kind of dummy domain or something which is specific to you and not the universal one. That's it. Because of course, some person will be there in that name. The probability is more when you create lot of data. So we might try to send something to them, right? So in that case, like this is how the email works. And so here 1 2 3 4 5 6. So we have 6 because it should start from 5 and till 8 it can go. So here it generated 5 different user details for us. And the type ID we already gave, it should be among P1, P2, P3, P4. So it selected 1. And the digital ID, I told it should start with 9 and it can have any random digits after that. And the date of date and time also, I mentioned should be in UTC format, and it can be till December. So if you see, we have marked the end date till December. So it can pick any date from this date. And in this custom list, we have another option, say like P1, P2, P3, P4. Say for example, you need all the data. I don't want a random data. I want like a different set of data, like wherein one record should be with P1, P2, P3, P4. What we can do is like, instead of random, we have the option to select that as well. So say for example, if you want the sequential data, and I'm just selecting the number of rows as 4 here. And if you just preview, so if you see, first the ID is 1001 here, and it's P1. It's 1002 here. The next one is 1002. And here it is as P2 and 1003 and the type is SP3, and 1004, the type is SP4. So now I'm getting all my custom list values also. Here, if you are editing the rows as two, only the first two will be picked. Always the first two will be picked because you have marked it as sequential here. If you want to have any customizations, of course, you can go ahead and write the formulas, and based on that, the list will be picked for you. So this is all I wanted to explain. So this is a basic formula which we need to be aware about Mockaroo. So wherein like and the formulas also like some things like there is inbuilt with Mockaroo, and some places like say for example this instead of lower, I think Ruby has the option like called down case or something. So that will also work. If you're good at Ruby, you can try that as well. So I think this is all. So what we have done is like, so right now I have the rows. So I will show you like how we are ending up with the schema. So after generating like any kind of schema, so we will just go and we'll create a new schema. So say for example, so this is a default schema which we already had, right? So for I'm just editing it. I'm just mocking something here. First thing is like once you're done with the schema, always try to save the schema. So that it, because we are already spending so much time, right, Ajay? Because specifically for each field, we are spending some time, and but of course that's why I'm trying to say it's an initial setup, one-time setup. So once you set your detailed requirements, you're just going to save the schema, and once it is saved, it's going to stay there for all time, so no worries. So say for example, now I've just saved the schema. So what we are doing in real time is like, so once I save my schema, I will take this one for better example because we have a different set of list. So once I save my schema, what I will do is like, if you see, you will have your curl generated below. I just want you to copy that. Okay, if you are testing in, it can be any other tool. Right now we are testing in Postman, right? So what I want you to do is like how it is useful for us. So create a new request and just paste that curl here, and you have an option to edit the count. The key is unique, API key is unique for you, so you can't do anything with that. But this count you can try to change because you designed your schema there, and once you are testing it, you might want to increase the data. You might want 10 or 20, so you can definitely increase the test data. So right now I'm just saving that here, and if you just try to click on send, you can see the dummy data, like the data like based on the schema, based on the requirements which we set up, right? You can see the data every time here. Okay, and for just a minute, so better it's like, so right now we just gave this count as 1. You have the option to edit the count also here, Ajay. So say for example, if I'm just updating it as 4, you will have uh, 4 different test data based on the requirement. So what is the purpose of it is like on the fly. So say for example, during your API testing, or in some places we might use APIs for creating test data instead of doing it in front end also. In those scenario, you can once you set up your schema based on your specific requirements. Say for example, there are a lot of post request also, right, wherein you have to create a new entity, create a new user, create a new record. In that case, what you can do is like, you can just integrate this request along with your existing project request which you have. So right now, just a simple snippet which I have added here is like, I have just passed the response and I have just stored as a response body. What I'm just trying to do is like the entire response I wanted to post in a next request, Ajay. So because right now I have generated the test data based on my specific requirements, and this is how my client wants it. So once this is all done, what I will do is like, I will just send this. So I have just set it as a global variable. So if you see it here, I'll see the entire response body. The entire response is now, this is a complete set of details which I am just going to use it in my next request, the post request. that post request is already as part of my project. So
Mhm.
here, to show that with an example, what I have done is like I have picked this post API. So this is a dummy API of Postman, wherein like this echo will directly echo in the body, like whatever you're going to give it as a request, it'll give back as a response.
Okay.
So that variable, I'm just pasting it in the body section. So it will be directly automatically sent in the next request also. So
Mhm.
right, this way you can integrate the test data. It definitely the requirement will vary, Ajay. So say for example, here I have just picked the entire response body. Some people will just need the first name, or some people will just need the project ID. Based on that, you have just to parse the response, store it as a variable, and you can add that along with the existing request. So the project work goes on. So on the fly. So every hit of this, you will get a new data,
Mhm.
and the new data will automatically, so here it is stem, right? So if you see, the new data will automatically be passed on to the subsequent request also.
Mhm. Okay.
So this is how it'll save a lot of testing effort as well.
Right, right. I can see that.
Yeah. Because we have something called dynamic variables in Postman, but the problem here is like it will give you a schema. It can say, for example, instead of this response body, we have an option to create a random currency name. If I give automatically, it will give me random currency names, like KIP is a currency, it seems. So but when it comes to a specific set of requirements,
Mhm.
you can just set, of course it is going to be initially time taking, because right now for just for different set of fields, you took a lot of time in your requirement will of course have some 100 plus fields, but it's just a one time activity, I would say. Once you set up the schema, every time your request or your data, whenever you are testing, going to look meaningful, right? Not just
Right.
dummy data. Yeah, it's going to be look meaningful. Of course the client will like it better, right? And you can test the APIs also better. So
That's correct. Actually,
yeah.
you can never always use the same thing. 1, 2, 3, QWERTY.
Ah,
These are
exactly.
not meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
when it comes to some kind of valid report, it doesn't look good also, right? The client,
true.
when you are sharing the report to someone, but this kind of detail when you're sharing to someone, it looks meaningful, because even for an email we have spent some time, and we have made that email as a meaningful email, combining the first name and last name, right?
Yeah.
So it looks really good, and it looks really professional when you do this way.
This
So
this is
this
how we are doing justice to the test data.
exactly. Exactly. You're right.
Right.
You're right. So this is all I had for today. So if you have any questions, Ajay, I'll love to take
Awesome.
it up.
Yeah, we have many
Mm.
questions. Okay, so thank you, Priscilla, for the demoing this tool.
Mm,
Let's come to question part. So
mm,
my first question is: I saw you giving talks over Postman and
mm,
related API testing tools. How all of a
mm,
sudden you have decided to demonstrate the test data tool named as Mockaroo?
mm,
Any problem you have faced while doing stuff at your workplace, and then you decided that discussion on test data tool is really important? Could you throw light on it?
mm. Yeah, sure, Ajay. So uh, I just showed you a sample here, right? This field just has some like 10 or 12 fields, that's it. You will not believe the real-time requirement which we had was too big. Like our client requirement was very heavy. The JSON file was very heavy, wherein like say for example here it should be a project name, and this field should be specific this way. So what you will do, Ajay, so the file was very big, and we need to have a valid and a proper test data for every run or every hit. So it was like at that time, before that definitely we didn't think about this important, like the test data are going to be for APIs. We were doing API testing, but that project had a very different data requirement, and
Mhm.
And that project, you will not believe, we are doing for different set of countries as well. So the
Mhm.
localization text and the country codes, the zip codes, and it was all like say for example, if it has to be a Brazilian country code, and it has to be different set of test data. So what we had to do is like, based on that challenge, we had my test lead suggested this tool, and initially one person has to spend some time, and
Mhm.
we had an option to share the schema as well, and you can clone the schema as well. So even for the same set of project details or the same set of schema, I had to just tweak a little bit for another project. I can just clone the schema, I can
Mhm.
directly do that. So it was like very useful for all of us, and we felt like, of course, we had to spend some one day because the file is very big. And once you set up the data, every test data, the API testing team which is going to create in front end or to the downstreams, it was very meaningful, and it was
Mhm.
very useful, and it was better efficiently testing the APIs as well. So we felt that is how we landed up in this tool, Ajay.
Oh, awesome. Okay, coming to next question. Where does Mockaroo stands when we talk about test data generator tool available in the market?
Mm, yeah, a nice question. Of course, you might have heard about many different tools, which is people are certainly using. Uh, I believe initially it was not that much famous, but right now I see many people started using about it. But of course, not many are talking about it, but many people are really using Mockaroo, and about that, like many tools still doesn't support this much of data types, first point.
Mhm.
And also like uh, this API, like whatever things which we are doing so far in Postman and sorry, Mockaroo, it's not just about the data set. Right now they have enhanced with mocking APIs also. The tool is actually trying to accommodate more of the developer requirements which they had, like trying to have some mock APIs and to have all under a same project and all. So not just for a dummy data, and also about that the realistic related correlated data which I spoke, Ajay. I don't think many of those tools which is available in market are doing that, like what we spoke about, like the gender is automatically being correctly populated based upon the first name. So all these correlated inside algorithms. So based on this, I think Mockaroo is of course one of the top 10 tools in the market right now.
Awesome. Okay, so Priscilla, what unique feature you liked about the tool?
Hmm.
After looking at one
Okay.
should try using this tool.
Okay. Yeah. First thing, when it's like I believe testers always have this uh, kid attitude. Whenever a new tool is given to them, they will totally love to explore it, right?
Right.
So in that case, of course, we had like, once we got this tool, we were like so crazy. Oh my God, what is it? Oh, this is creating that much, this much. So we were so excited. Honestly, Ajay, we were so excited.
Mhm.
So every field, and one of those my favorite, I would say, is like this formula feature. Of course, I'm not so good at Ruby, but the community forum really had very good options. I can definitely show you also. So based on that, their support, right? You have a very good community forum, Ajay. So, and most of the questions, whenever you try to go and search, of course, somebody would mostly would have already faced it, already given them also. So the formula, even though the term message formula looks tricky, it's same as like in Excel and Google Sheet, right? We initially it was tough, but right now we are used to that. So this formula is what one of my favorite feature, I would say. It's really helping us in a lot of ways, like the customizations.
Awesome. Coming to next question, Priscilla,
Hmm.
can we generate any project specific codes or values for few fields which we require?
Yeah, that is something like a hard coded values, I think, Ajay, right?
Right.
Which is defined, predefined value. So say for example, like the same field, what we were talking about here. So say for example, my project name is going to be something like day 2 or something, this is going to be my project name, like automatically this is a predefined feature. So so everywhere I can see this field.
Mhm.
So this is something related to that, and also this field also. So say like my project is having only this set of codes for this field,
Mhm.
and I can directly select this custom list, and this p1, p2, p3, 4 value is picked automatically, like any of the values for this field. So I can definitely use the pre-generated, not just the random values. We can of course use the predefined values as well.
Okay, got it. Coming to next question, Priscilla. So apart from API testing, what do you think where we can utilize this test data generation capability of Mockaroo in other testing techniques?
Mm, okay. Major scope I see is for data analyst, Ajay, like because they are dealing with lots and lot of data, right?
Mhm.
And when we talk about the pricing also
Mhm.
for Mockaroo, we have they have few versions. I think just a minute, you will have it here itself. So this is the pricing of Mockaroo, Ajay. So free version is much more enough when you are testing for a like the basic set of APIs and the developers who are doing their unit testing, right? Free is of course far more enough, and you have all the features. And if you see the enterprise versions and all, the test data, like you can generate 10 million records per day. See, and those 10 million records are just going to be having a valid latitude, longitude. And the first name, last name, it's going to be looking like a real data. So when the data analyst is going to have some kind of visualization, right,
Mhm.
it will be definitely helpful. So mostly I see in for their machine learning purpose, and the data analyst have a real good usage of MockCrew.
Got it. Yeah, it's quite relatable as well.
Hmm.
Okay, so apart from dealing with REST APIs, is there any like support for GraphQL APIs because these are also popular these days?
Exactly, Ajay, you are very right. From one of the talk of the founder, like Mark, he is a founder for Mockaroo. So he is one of his talk. He gave a hint like right now it supports REST API, and they have a definitely they have a plan in the pipeline to support GraphQL as well.
Great. Okay.
Mhm.
Coming to next question. So, what kind of skills should today's testers have?
Okay. Okay, so we are all done with Mockaroo, right? So we are coming into the common testing part.
Right.
I'm
Right.
excited. Okay, let's see. Okay, first thing, Ajay, I always feel like the current day testers, most of them uh, are really good. Like when I started testing, of course, 10 years back, I used to say this at many places, like 10 years. And when I started, I really don't have this kind of exposure, like this many types of testing are there, and this many tools and productive tools which we can use for enhance the testing process. I never had this exposure,
Mhm.
and right now in the current generation I see the testers are really good, and they have an exposure, and they have all the community support also, like you people,
Mhm.
there are a lot of community supporting them, and just by a single click Google have everything to show to them. So I sometimes I of course envy them, like they are gifted when compared to us. But one thing, based on my personal experience of the interviews which I had in the recent times, I conducted few interviews, and I wanted to tell to the same generation people,
Mhm.
testing basics are very important.
Mhm.
Not knowing without what is a smoke, what is a regression testing, what is a hard fix, without all these terminologies, once you grew up or once you reach to a management level, without knowing these testing basics, you cannot defend your team. You cannot be a good leader. You cannot be productive. So I always feel like the testing basics are more important.
Mhm.
Because in even in LinkedIn, you might have seen many people talking about it. Like even though if it is an automation tester, learn some testing basics, learn some testing basics. Of
Mhm.
course, I wanted to say that to especially to the younger generation, uh, please make a note of it. Testing basics are very important. You need to, even if you didn't have a chance to explore that, or if you didn't have a chance of a proper training even, I would suggest you give it a shot. Like, get some testing books which many of the good authors have written, or try to even give for your examination, like the CTFL exam, like because that will give you a basic understanding. In the recent times, this is actually so much disturbing for me too, Ajay. Like most of the interviews, the candidate is, of course, they are good at analytical, the recent technology they are getting to know, but when you ask some basic testing questions, they really fail there. And that is little bit worrying, right? I had to do a research, and then I got a chance to spoke with some of my juniors as well, and then I got to know their training was not efficient as lucky as we guys had. So
Mhm.
even though if the company is not providing you a training, I want you to learn the testing basics. Make use of the mentors, make use of the communities. But even though you are like 5 years or 3 years experienced in testing already, please
Mhm.
learn the basics. Those terminologies are very important, and those speaking those words and being strong in the basics will make you a strong tester in future, so that you can be a good lead. So I really wanted to tell this, really wanted to register this point, Ajay. I want them to know the importance and seriousness of it.
Okay, got it,
And
Priscilla. So
yeah.
testers, what Priscilla is
Hmm.
saying, basics are really important. So
Exactly. Yeah.
kindly note it down. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, all other things, like, because they are all doing the things, remaining things, like I believe, like the recent days tester, like even the experienced testers or the freshers, they are all like they are coming out of the comfort zone. They wanted to try something new. They are trying for the open source contributions. They are speaking up in the communities, meetups. All those things are good. They are really doing it good. But when coming to the basics part, they still lag. But other than that, all other stuffs, and we have something to learn from the newer generation also. I always say this: they have something new for us, and we have to learn something from them too. But I want them to learn the basics, and they can always build an individuality for them, Ajay. Instead of like being among the same set of crowd, they can be a separate, a special individual, right? In that case, that will help them to stand out among the crowd. Say for example, I'm not sure if you have seen my LinkedIn profile. In my LinkedIn, I have given my bio, which is in a JSON format. So many people will reach out to me just because they like that bio. It was catchy. So so that this is just an example. So in this way, they have to think something unique, and they have to find their own strength, and they have to work on it. And they have to, like, how to say, uh, something, I'm special at it, and people can reach out to me for that. So they should find their inner strength, and they should work on it, and they should, of course, broadcast and advertise about it.
Great, great to know, Priscilla. Coming to last and final question. So
Mm.
it's all about your wisdom. So your words of wisdom for today's tester.
You are right. And of course, nobody is an expert. But what I can share is, like, based on my experience, what
Mhm,
my younger self would have known better.
mhm,
So I make mistakes every day,
mhm,
very silly mistakes. And sometimes I'll be so naive, and those mistakes will, oh my God, how did I miss it? So I make mistakes. But
mhm,
what I will do it, like, I have a journal, or I'll have a Trello board where I will just use to track it. This was better. Now, was it best? So
mhm,
I'll always used to have that kind of review cycle, a review check, where is it, I'm making mistakes is bad, is not bad. Like, is it fine? I'm coming out of that. Is it like I'm learning something new every day? What about my learning curve? So all these things I'll always have an eye on it, Ajay. And just to end up with an small example, like everybody likes movie, and we are all watching a movie, right? So say for example, there is a movie, and you might have it might be your favorite star movie. You might have gone for the first day show. So you might have enjoyed it, or you might have not have liked it. You come back, and after a few days you watch the same movie for the second time.
Mhm,
Now there is a possibility where your perception might change, right?
mhm,
Or
mhm,
it might still remain the same. So and another thing add on is like some details or some dialogues which you missed on the first day, you might notice in the second day, right?
mhm, mhm.
So the same
Oh,
movie, if you're seeing it for
I'm
the
giving
third.
you one more example. It could also happen
Yeah, yeah.
when you're watching it first time,
uh,
you didn't understand. Now you're watching it
uh,
again.
yeah, exactly. Now you might understand, so you might like it or not dislike it stronger. It might go either ways.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
third day you might miss out some other details, or you might miss out some entire plot as such. Oh my god, oh, so this is why this happened. So the entire plot we might have missed it, but the third day you might have a different perception or a different thought process. And the
Mhm,
fourth day, so it's like I always say the life is like the same kind, Ajay. Every
mhm,
day you have to see that with a new perception and a new aspect, because past your future your past shouldn't affect your future. So the day one whatever you had the thought process, you should just wipe it out, and the day two you should see it as a fresh movie, so that you will understand like what was the mistake you did it on the first time. And the third day when you're seeing the movie, I want you to see that as a fresh eyes, so that the first day and the second day whatever the mistakes which you did will
mhm.
not be repeated in the day three. So
Right.
the tester's journey is almost the same like your life. So every day you have to start with your test, your fresh eyes and your fresh perception, and you have to open up, and you will definitely have a wonderful days ahead.
Very good point, Priscilla. Very good point, I would say. Okay.
Yeah, Jay.
Great, Priscilla. Okay. Thanks, Priscilla. Finally, we have reached to the closure of this wonderful session on API
Mm-hmm.
testing presented by you. I want to know
Mm-hmm.
from you if anyone wants to reach out to you, then what are the
Mm-hmm.
ways?
Okay, so first thing is like, yeah, I think I'm supposed to send you my better places LinkedIn, Ajay. Of course, um, so much active in LinkedIn, and other
Mhm,
than that, they can reach out to me through Twitter or
mhm,
my Medium pages. I'm writing some blogs over there, so they can
mhm,
check out my Medium page as well.
mhm. I have talked about your blog as well. If we
Mm.
see testing journey of priscilla.blogspot.com.
Yeah, yeah.
So, could you just display and let us know what we can figure it out and what kind of learning we can have from your blog?
Sure, Ajay. Major thing is like I'm not sure if it is right or wrong, because I initially started with Medium,
Mhm,
and I like to write in Medium, like the pages and the look and feel. I somehow like it, and then I
mhm.
came to know like not everybody is paying for Medium, and they have a limited free stories to view every month.
Right, right.
So that is where like this blogger page came up. So even though if it is repeated, I wanted to reach out to many people, so that is why I landed up in my blogger page, where I'm trying to explore like the same set of blogs I used to write it here also. The people who don't use Medium or don't have access more than a few certain stories, don't have paid account, they can read everything in my testing journey. So max since I was working mostly with APIs and Postman. Most of the learnings which was useful for me, which might be useful for another API tester, I have shared all of them here. I used to write my stories here. And this is something like with related to mentoring club, like there is a open sort of like people who are helping for them. So mostly they can see my calendar here, and if they want to have any kind of mentoring session with me, they can definitely book it here, Ajay. They'll have
I gonna do that. I gonna do
okay.
that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this is all about the stage. Mostly you have API testing related sources, and I'm trying to add something related to automation also, but I'll definitely do that. I need to do the learnings which I'm currently working on with Selenium. I'm trying to do that. I'll do that.
Awesome, awesome, great. Another feather on your cap. Awesome. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ajay.
Okay.
And you know
So
what?
yeah, go
These
ahead.
kind of feedbacks, like whatever people say, because I used to always get that question, like, Priscilla, how do you get time? Like, do you have 48 hours a day? Some people will really like make fun of me, and I'll be telling them I have the same 24 hours, but I know, of course, it's tough. I'm suffering too, and it's tough. I agree. I have to balance my family, my work stuffs, and the community stuffs. But
Mhm,
the honest feedbacks, the people, the random messages which you get from the people from LinkedIn or the emails, right?
mhm,
That will make my day, Ajay. Like, many feedbacks I have, of course, I have noted down all those things, and I'm planning to write a blog, because definitely that will inspire many of the testers or many of the moms especially.
mhm,
And I that entire note, whatever they are trying to express, right? That will just whatever tired even end of the day, I'll be like 10:30 working all day, even I'm tired, right? That random note will just make me smile, and that will just give me more power to just work on for few more time or few more work. So I really wanted to thank all of those people who are like endlessly supporting me, and even for a small thing when they ask me, I try to, of course, I try to respond back as much as possible, even when I missed out also. Like, they are getting that in a correct sense, and they appreciate me, and when when they see something good in my post, and when there was something which I solved for them, say for example in Postman community, if I
mhm.
solved something also, some people, of course, they will thank there and they will leave, and some people will send you a special note in LinkedIn also. Thank you so much, Priscilla. You'll never feel like how much that helped me. So all these things are really special to me, and I want to thank all those good souls here.
Mhm. All right, great. Okay, Priscilla, as you know, we are close to closure of this session. So, anything else you want to share before we wrap up this session?
No, no, Ajay, I am good. I just wanted to tell everybody, like, keep learning. And this pandemic has gone, might have affected us mentally, but
Mhm,
that is where I found, like, instead of getting affected mentally and just stuck up at home, I wanted to do something productive, and that's how Postman community landed up, and all my feature and all my the profile visibility which I have is all because of that. So try to find out a way, and try to find out a good solution for you, instead of taking up this negativity inside you, and just try to stay positive. And whenever you want to talk something related, which I'm good at, I'm always here, and I'm happy to help. That's it, Ajay.
awesome, Priscilla. Great. Okay.
Mm.
Thanks,
Okay, and
Priscilla.
stop sharing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can go
Mm.
ahead. Thanks, Priscilla, for joining us over STAT and sharing your knowledge based on your experience in your tenure in IT industry so far. Hope our audience will learn a lot from you based on the sessions you have presented. And we would be expecting more such deep dive sessions in upcoming days as well. We wish
Sure,
you,
Ajay. But
yeah,
thank
we
you so
wish,
much for having to. Actually, it's my pleasure. Like, you don't want to thank me. Actually, of course, you are spending your time to. I know we connected a few times before this, and I was so thankful to you guys. Thank you for reaching out to me.
thank you. Thanks, Priscilla. We wish you all the best for upcoming
Mm,
projects on which you are working
mm,
on. Thanks for
mm,
being part of our STAT journey.
mm. Sure, Ajay. Thank you so much. I wish all the testers the same. Let them rock. We are all special, right?
Yeah, right. Testers are always special.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.